Pepsi, Coca-Cola, KFC, let's KFC.
All the Muslims in the world boycott these big brands. But why? What's the benefit of this boycott for Muslims? How effective are these boycotts? How can boycotting these companies save the life of a child in Palestine? And what effect does this boycott have on Israel? And we will finish the jobster. In reality, the story of this boycott by Muslims does not start here, but many years ago with a great leader in the world. It begins with Nelson Mandela, who freed his country, South Africa, from white domination and fought against racism in the world. He turned South Africa into a state where the laws were the same for both white and black people. Human rights for all citizens. After that, Nelson Mandela became famous worldwide, and America thought that they could control him like other leaders, turning him into a puppet leader. But Nelson Mandela was no ordinary leader. He had spent 27 years in prison and reached this point after immense struggle. Controlling him wasn't an easy task. When Mandela was at his peak of power, he was interviewed, and in that interview he clearly said that just because someone is America's enemy doesn't mean they are also our enemy. And he went against America's policies, saying that we want Palestine to get its rights. It should be returned to the Arabs. Because the struggle of the Palestinians is exactly like our own, a struggle for freedom. They are fighting for the right of self-determination. So Mandela stood alone against the superpower, America, on the issue of Palestine. But he didn't stop with that interview. A few years later, a huge conference was organized in South Africa because of Mandela, the World Conference Against Racism. This conference had many agendas, and every country in the world was invited. The purpose of this conference was to raise a collective voice against every form of injustice, including Israel's actions in Palestine. Seeing this, only two countries in the world opposed the conference and boycotted it, Israel and America. But the strange thing was, the conference started, but it couldn't be completed because just 3 days after the conference began, America was attacked in September 2001. Now, this conference didn't reach the issue of Israel because it ended before that. However, there was one person who was greatly inspired by Nelson Mandela and his struggle. He thought, why not Muslims all over the world start a big campaign against Israel's oppression? Umar Barghouti. Umar Barghouti started the campaign to boycott Israel. Actually, the word boycott didn't originate with him, but from an English businessman named Charles Boycott, who used to oppress his workers and took excessive taxes from them. One day, these workers revolted against him. But Charles Boycott was a very powerful man, and fighting him was nearly impossible. So the workers came up with a plan to not work for Boycott anymore, not wash his clothes, not cook food for him, and not buy anything from him. This peaceful protest worked so well that soon Charles Boycott had to leave and never return. This became the origin of the word boycott. This strategy was later used by a great leader, Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi used it in his fight against the British Empire. He called for the boycott of British goods, schools, taxes, and even courts. Seeing the success of Gandhi's strategy, many other people around the world started using this method. During this time, a huge war broke out in Europe, World War II, in which the German leader Adolf Hitler began killing Jews. The Jews didn't have the power to fight Hitler with weapons and tanks, so they were forced to follow Gandhi's strategy and started boycotting Germany. Jews stopped buying German goods, Jewish professors resigned from German universities, and even German Jews gave up their citizenship. Even the famous scientist Albert Einstein, who was Jewish, gave up his German citizenship and university position. This boycott strategy, influenced by Gandhi and others, is what led to the formation of the Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions (BDS) movement. This global campaign started 20 years ago in 2005 by Umar Barghouti, urging people worldwide to boycott Israel's products and companies to put pressure on Israel to end its illegal activities. However, this boycott was not aimed at American companies like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, KFC, or McDonald's. The BDS campaign only focused on Israeli companies. Initially, the boycott didn't have a significant impact, but 2 years ago, when Israel started a new war in Gaza and killed thousands of innocent Palestinians, the situation changed. When companies like McDonald's, Burger King, and Starbucks announced that they would give free food and discounts to Israeli soldiers, Muslims and social activists around the world began to take action. They realized that these companies were supporting Israel's actions by feeding the soldiers, killing innocent Palestinian children. As a result, the BDS campaign gained momentum, and people from all faiths, including Muslims, Christians, Jews, and atheists, joined the movement. This boycott, which has now become one of the largest campaigns in history, has led to significant pressure on Israel. However, there is a debate among Muslims about whether the boycott is truly effective. Some say it hasn't caused any harm to Israel, while others argue that Israel has spent millions of dollars trying to stop the campaign because they understand its potential to hurt them. Israel has already faced significant losses, with major companies like Intel pulling out of deals with Israel, and 46,000 companies closing down in Israel due to this pressure. If we calculate the total losses Israel has suffered, it amounts to around $300 billion. But the issue arises with American companies like Pepsi, Coca-Cola, and KFC, which are not directly related to Israel, but play a significant role in supporting Israel through investments. Every year, billions of dollars from these companies help sustain Israel's government, military, and economy. These companies have a significant presence in Muslim-majority countries, where Muslims are the main consumers of their products. If Muslims worldwide were to collectively boycott these companies, it would force them to choose between the Muslim world and Israel. Already, many global companies have started pulling out of Israel due to this pressure. For example, many companies in countries like Pakistan, Malaysia, Egypt, Turkey, and Indonesia have shifted to local brands instead of these American companies, leading to the growth of local businesses and the creation of new jobs. Despite the benefits of boycotting, there is also a challenge. Millions of jobs in Muslim-majority countries are tied to these American companies. If they were boycotted, many people would lose their jobs. However, this might also push Muslim countries to develop their own industries, similar to how China became self-sufficient after Japan's invasion during World War II. In conclusion, boycotts are never about rejecting everything. Like Gandhi's example, when he boycotted British goods, he did not reject everything from the British Empire, but focused on those things that would hurt the British and benefit the Indian cause. Similarly, the current boycott should focus on those things that would put pressure on Israel, not on things that harm our own people.